It seems you've stumbled across this place. I am Adam, but most people know me as The Loremaster, where I talk about games that have way too much lore. Today, as you can hopefully see, I will be talking about Kirby. Now, Kirby is an interesting game. On surface value, you think, no way this game could have any lore. Well, you'd be dead wrong. These games have such complicated lore that I feel like, why not talk about it? So let's start at the beginning. And I don't mean the first game, I mean the beginning of everything. The concept of Void. Void is an entity that is supposedly the creator of all life. And it has the interesting ability to not only create this life, but also incarnate itself when it comes across either strong amounts of negative or positive energy. This is how we get Kirby. A positive incarnation of Void, this ultra-powerful being condensed into this pink puff. So, now that we have the whole concept of how life was created, let's start with to this day, the most intelligent beings in this world, the Ancients. The Ancients, well, it's unclear if they're from this world or not. I'm under the pretense that they are not. They come from a world that's very similar to ours, but it was abandoned after a freak accident, which I'll get to much later, when it's actually important. Anyway, the Ancients resided on a planet called Halcandra, where they were split into two factions, one which used magic to advance civilization, and one that used more grounded in reality, like technology and science. They made things that have become staples of Kirby lore, like the Dream Rod, or the Clockwork Stars of Nova, or even the Lore Star Cutter, the ship able to transcend the dimensional rifts. Now, as I said, Kirby is a positive incarnation of Void. But there is one other incarnation of Void, a negative one, the Destroyer of Worlds, Void Termina. This being is almost as powerful as Kirby. Not as powerful, but we'll get to that later. The Ancients feared Void Termina, and as they should. Its sole purpose is to destroy everything. So, the Ancients, being what they do, hired a group of 6 mercenaries, led by the temporal warrior Galactonite. Galactonite single-handedly sealed Void Termina in a mysterious Jamba heart. The Ancients, realizing that Galactonite might be stronger than anything they know, decided to seal him away with their magic. Now, the Science Ancients didn't really like this, so they banished the Magic Ancients to the edges of the galaxy, where they split and never harmonized once more. So, now, we'll go on to the actual games. We'll start with a quick overview of the first game, as it's not too important. You start on planet Popstar, a big star-shaped cheese as a planet, home of Kirby. One night, the self-proclaimed ruler of Dreamland, King Dedede, stole all of the food in the kingdom, leading to Kirby going to stop him with his special ability to take others' abilities upon killing them, which is a much more violent way of putting it, but hey, whatever, it works. Now, King Dedede threw everything he had at this little thing. Threw his best soldiers, his best men, and even the lone swordsman Meta Knight, who has a very similar look to Kirby. Even without his mask, it's revealed he's just a Kirby, which opens up some interesting lore implications, but none that are too important for the lore at this point in time. Long story short, for the first game, Kirby beats Dedede and spreads out all the food to the rest of the kingdom. The end, happily ever after, except no. Now, Kirby's Dream Land 2 is so insignificant, I'm just not going to cover it. It doesn't introduce anything new, so we'll just skip to Kirby's Dream Land 3, which introduces a very key player to the next couple games, Dark Matter. Dark Matter may may or may not be a negative incarnation of Void. It's not too explained. All we know is that they are a hive mind, they are dangerous, with their possession abilities being mainly exclusive to the self-proclaimed king. Anyway, Dark Matter tried to douse all of Dreamland in darkness, leading to Kirby having to use the Star Rod to banish them back out into the galaxy. But that did not kill them, as Dark Matter was simply a small piece in the whole of Zero. Now, Zero is a much bigger point of Dark Matter. It's a much different Dark Matter, too, though it does the same thing as Dark Matter does. Blinds everything in darkness. Now, Kirby beat Zero, too, once he came to Popstar to douse it in darkness, although Zero did get much closer. And thus, the whole hive mind, angry at Kirby, decided to go get more power by bullying a much lesser world of Ribbon Star, home of fairies, and some random human, but whatever, doesn't matter. Kirby 64, Kirby the Crystal Shards. Dark Matter, they doused the entire planet in darkness. The only reason the fairies are still alive is because Ribbon took the crystal that could defeat Zero and shattered it across the galaxy. Pieces of it landing on Dreamland, oh so close to Kirby. And just so happened, Ribbon was on one of those pieces that was right near Kirby, so Kirby joined Ribbon on their adventure to stop Dark Matter from consuming Ribbon Star forever. Now, a very long and mostly unimportant journey later, and they come across Zero 2, the reincarnation of Zero. It's much more powerful, much more deadly, but just as easily beaten by the Pink Puffball. That is where this part of the Dark Matter trilogy, as I call it, ends. And now we're moving to Kirby Superstar Saga. This game, it isn't too important, but its side modes actually are. Milky Way wishes. Let's go into that, shall we? Now it starts with the sun and the moon fighting for each other. We're not sure why, but we know that they're fighting with each other. Kirby sees this, not sure what to do, when a little jester on a little beach ball named Marks comes in. Says to seek out Nova, a wish-granting clockwork star, which is very similar to another piece of media, but whatever. Now, Kirby travels across the galaxy to learn how to summon Nova, and he does. But just as he's about to make his wish, Mark swoops in from the horizon, taking the wish for himself, and his wish is ultimate power. Kirby. Kirby was betrayed by Marks. Big shocker, right? He was suspicious from the start. He got the sun and moon to fight. But despite his now horrific winged appearance, he was still defeated, blowing up Nova in the process. The next game, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, starts up in the skies of Dreamland, with the Dimensional Mirror acting up. Meta Knight, seeing this as a threat, swoops into the mirror and into the strange mirror world, where everyone has their very dark, very edgy counterparts of themselves, especially Meta Knight, with a scarred, dark Meta Knight, trapping him in his own little mirror world, and escaping into the real Dreamland. Meta Knight swoops in, cuts into Kirby, splitting him into 4 separate Kirbys. An odd ability that never gets brought up again, but whatever. These 4 Kirbys still retain the positive energy that Void came across that day he was created, and decided to go into the mirror world and save Meta Knight. Now they do, eventually, but it's revealed that Meta Knight was not the mastermind. He was simply a servant of Dark Mind, who, unsurprisingly, given his appearance, is the mirror world counterpart of Zero. But even the stronger Dark Mind was no match for the four Kirbys, and was banished from the mirror world, and the mirror dimension was in the hands of Shadow Kirby, protected for the rest of time. Now, a couple weeks, maybe, time's arbitrary in Kirby lore, who cares? Afterward, Kirby was simply eating a strawberry shortcake, as he does. But when suddenly, it was snatched by a gang of thieves known as the Squeak Squad, led by their leader, DeRoach. He took to the castle, Kirby following. And when they got to that castle, Kirby and DeRoach met once more. There were two chests. Kirby wasn't sure why his shortcake might be in a chest, but DeRoach opened one of those chests, releasing an even smaller bit of dark matter known as Dark Nebula, possessing the Sly Mouth and using him as a vessel, though Kirby with the triple star defeated him with ease. So, this next segment is big. Kirby's return to Dreamland. The story begins with Kirby sleeping under a tree and Meta Knight watching over intently, when suddenly a big portal opens up in the sky, something which will become very clear with later down. But anyway, a large ship crashes into Dreamland, waking Kirby, and out comes the little conniving beast known as Magolor. Now, Magolor was here for something known as the Master Crown, which was guarded by the four-headed dragon Landia. Magolor offered Kirby to take him to Halcandra, his self-proclaimed home planet. All he needed to do was to track down the Master Crown and give it to Magolor. Kirby, being as naive as he is, decided to agree with this. But Magolor let out some strange things, saying he knew about Kirby from a little friend of his, which, as we'll see in later games, happened to be Mark's. But that's not important now, and won't be important for lore, it's just a fun tidbit. But anyway, after Kirby, Bandana Waddle Dee, King Dedede, and Meta Knight defeat Landia, it drops the Master Crown. Magolor swooping in at the last second, taking it for himself. Kirby got tricked once more. Now, Magolor put on the Master Crown and gained powers of the universe, untold. But Kirby, of course, defeated him, with Magolor changing his ways, and deciding to repay by building a really cool theme park. The end of Kirby's Dream Land. Now, we're onto the home stretch, Kirby Triple Deluxe. Now this game starts with a different opening. Kirby, tired after a long day of adventuring, goes to bed. But in his dreams, while he was dreaming, a huge beanstalk sprouts under his house, taking him to the skies of Floralia. Oh god, it's really raspy. Anyway, now Floralia is a very odd place. It's a kingdom ruled by Queen Sectonia, this weird wasp thing that's never explained again, because she dies. Not important. Actually, yes it is. Anyway, Kirby climbs the Dreamstalk and finds that King Dedede's castle was also taken by the Dreamstalk, with the mysterious spider boy Taranza capturing the king, claiming he was the hero of Dreamland and taking him to their dastardly queen. Kirby, finding a problem with this, kept climbing to the very top of the beanstalk, coming into conflict with the now possessed Dedede. After snapping him out of that little phase, Taranza and Queen Sectonia arrived, but Queen Sectonia just swats away Taranza like it's nothing. And Taranza, seeing the state that their queen is in, a crazed state, fusing herself with the beanstalk just to preserve her beautiful image, decides to help Kirby. It's a noble sacrifice, especially since, this is the real kicker here, Queen Sectonia was not always like the way she was now. Queen Sectonia used to look a lot like Taranza. Taranza gave her an odd mirror, which seemed to contain dark Meta Knight. But, unaware of this, Taranza gave this to the queen, who Taranza happened to have some feelings for. Yes, it is important to mention this. Don't try to comment me on that. Anyway, the queen was corrupted by Dark Meta Knight's influence and hatred for being trapped, causing her to radically change her appearance and personality. Though those feelings for her never went away in terms of Taranza. So it was a bittersweet moment when she had to eventually be put down like a dog. Now, Planet Robobot. Taking place, who cares? It's after Triple Deluxe. Why am I saying this? Doesn't matter. Anyway, Planet Robobot. One day, Kirby was, again, doing what he does best, sleeping under a tree, when an odd spaceship came into contact with Popstar. The Axis Arc. A big spherical ship with 5 legs. It dug those legs into Popstar and turned the whole world into like it was from the future. Bottling up trees like possessions, turning the grass into metal, even turning some of the inhabitants into mindless robots. Kirby found a problem with this, as most would, but unlike most, Kirby could do something about it, and he did. Kirby went up to the leg closest to him, stormed through it like a knight in shining armor, and destroyed it completely. Went through this process so many times, but in the second leg, he encountered someone interesting. Susie, the CEO of the company, Haltman Corp., which was mechanizing Popstar for their own gain. Susie was interested in Kirby, but didn't pay too much attention to him until all 5 legs were destroyed, and Kirby came into contact with President Haltman, who ran the company. Turns out, he was making a supercomputer known as Stardream, a remnant of the ancients, in more ways than one, as we'll see. Stardream didn't like humans too much, didn't like any life form too much. So once President Haltman attached himself to Stardream, it gained sentience and decided to destroy everything, all of life. But before it could get too far in that, Kirby decided to do something about it. While piloting the Halberd, Meta Knight's ship that we haven't mentioned since it hasn't been too important. Now it is. Meta Knight's ship, the Halberd. He's piloting it in space, trying to fight Stardream, who fuses itself with the Axis Arc. As this happens, it's revealed that the whole Axis Arc was a repurposed clockwork star, so similar to Nova in appearance that it's almost uncanny. It's insane. There's a whole clockwork star inside of this little thing. And the possessed Haltman, now completely lost to Stardream, suffered painfully, sadly, as Kirby destroyed the inner core of Stardream, destroying it completely. Turns out, all this time, the Officiant of Doom, Highness, had been repowering the Jamba Heart that sealed Void Termina all that time ago. Turns out, he couldn't release Void Termina just yet, but instead accidentally scattered the pieces all across the galaxy, some of which landing on Popstar and possessing the likes of King Dedede and Meta Knight. Kirby took an issue with this, but the Jamba Heart also affected him in an odd way. He could turn his enemies into his allies, just like that. So, with the power of friendship, he uncorrupted Dedede and Meta Knight when an odd ship landed on Popstar. The Gem Bastion drilled its way into Popstar, and Kirby went in, meeting the 3 mage sisters. I forget their names, and they're really hard to pronounce. Anyway, The three generals, the three mage sisters, one with fire powers, one with ice, and one with electric. Though, all were no match for Kirby, and the officiant of doom, Lord Highness, decided to intervene. Now, Lord Highness was an ancient. Yes, at least that's what people think. He always rambled about how he was so upset that the science ancients banished the magic that he and all the other ancients tried to revive Void Termina. The whole reason they were banished in the first place, they were now trying to bring back. Highness, again, didn't exactly know how this worked, but after some research while collecting the Jamba Heart pieces that had shattered across the galaxy, he knew how, and it was with sacrifices. He sacrificed the Mage Sisters and even sacrificed himself as the final piece to reawaken the destroyer of worlds, Void Termina. Its first instinct, to destroy everything in the area. Creating a battlefield for Kirby and his friends to fight the gargantuan beast, eventually revealing that it wasn't so gargantuan. I mean, it was, but that's just a shell. Its normal form looks oddly similar to dark matter, which is why people think that dark matter is an incarnation of Void, because him and Void Termina look so similar. Anyway, after a climactic battle, the destroyer of worlds was killed, gone from all eternity, and Kirby took a rest, losing those powers of the Jamba Heart, but it didn't matter. He was still friends with a lot of people, and it didn't matter too much. So, final game for now, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Now, this seems to take place right after Kirby lost his powers of friendship, as an odd portal opened right in the sky, sucking in all of members of Dreamland. Kirby tried to escape, but it was ultimately fruitless. He was sucked into that vortex and transported to a whole new dimension. We're not sure what this dimension is called or what it's, but we do know it's quite similar to Earth. This Earth that we live in, except there's no humans. It's just the Beast Pack, led by an unknown figure at this time, but we can get to that. Anyway, the Beast Pack was capturing the Waddle Dees for an unknown reason, and even captured an odd little creature. Big ears, flying, but a very important thing, one of its ears had a clip in it, had a pierce. This creature's name was Elfon. It was very grateful for Kirby saving it. So, she decided to join Kirby, save the Waddle Dees, and even save some odd members, like King Dedede, who seemed to have reverted to his primal ways. He was being controlled by the Beast Pack, along with other members of Dreamland. But Dedede had a change of heart. After his wild boar mask was knocked off by the Pink Puffball, Dedede seemed to calm down, almost reverting to his old self once more. But the Beast Pack was moving. They had to get somewhere safe when they found an elevator. Odd. No technology worked until the elevator. But Dedede, seeing one Waddle Dee had tripped up, he threw the Waddle Dee back in the elevator, while Dedede went to face the Beast Pack. Now, as this elevator was going up, there was an odd message that was playing, almost like there was life here before. Life before the Beast Pack, far more advanced than anything we've seen. Maybe it was the Ancients. Who knows? But they discovered an odd life form, the ultimate life form, Fecto Elphalith, who had the ability to travel between worlds just like that, like it was nothing. But after a freak accident at the lab Discoverer, Fecto Alpha was split in two pieces. Fecto Forgo, who lies in a strange infinity chamber in stasis, and the other was Alphaless. This whole time, Alphalin was the second half of the ultimate life form. Though Kirby confronting the leader of the Beast Packs, Leongar. Though it was ultimately fruitless for the little lion, and he crashed into the Infinity Chamber, waking Fecto Forgo, who decided to absorb all of the members of the Beast Pack, becoming this horrifying monster. It grabbed after Kirby, it chased Kirby through the hallways of Lab Discovera, before eventually being defeated. But it absorbed Alphalin in the way. How sad. Kirby climbed to the top of the building, facing the ultimate life form in the final duel of glory. Fecto Alphaless using its abilities to its greatest advantage. It created portals to whole nother worlds, and even created a portal to Dreamland. Though, Alphalin was eventually separated once again, but the ultimate life form didn't lose its form. Odd. Instead, in one last-ditch attempt to kill the Puffball, he sent Dreamland pummeling towards this forgotten land. Though Kirby, with the help of Alphalin, pushed it back, defeated Fecto Forgo, and returned to his own world. Though that wasn't for long, as Alphalin took him back willingly. It was odd, as Leongar's soul was split into 300 pieces across the Lost Soul Isles. Kirby, after a very long journey collecting them all, went back to the Soul Isles version of Lab Discovera, where he found Leon's body almost in a stasis type. But as all the pieces of the souls came into his body, Leongar was back and was thankful before being possessed by the still alive Fecto Forgo, becoming Forgo Leon. But after a pretty short battle, the true form of Soul Forgo revealed himself. But something odd came in. A glowing orange butterfly that landed right on Soul Forgo's nose, fusing itself to create the fluttering Dream Eater Morphonite. Morphonite is an odd being. It can manipulate fate. It is fate, and it can accept its own. After a long, hard-fought duel between Kirby and the Dream Eater, it gracefully disintegrated. But Soul Forgo, still hungry for revenge, lived on and was transported away, or transported himself away, only to come back as Kirby was doing the Ultimate Z Cup tournament. Every single boss he had faced coming at him in a round-style boss rush. But the final battle was unexpected. There was an odd creature. Turns out, Fecto Forgo had exactly learned something from his little tussle with the Morphonite. He learned how to harness chaos, becoming the being born of chaos, Chaos Alphaless, retaining his form as Fecto Alphaless, but with an odd design change. Though, once Kirby did what he did to split Alphalin and Fecto Forgo, Chaos Alphaless remained as an odd orb shape. This being was far more powerful than anything that could ever happen. Anything. Everything that we ever know, that we ever seen in Kirby, besides Kirby himself, was nothing compared to this being born of chaos. Though, Kirby, after a very long time, defeated Chaos Alphaless, the soul of Fecto Forgo finally deciding to be at peace. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, hopefully not too long story. I tend to get sidetracked. I have many more stories to tell, but that was for another day. Do come back, for I am Adam the Loremaster. And good day to you. Yes! Got it! Woo! Okay, Jack, mute Mite 6. I'm gonna come up there.